How we doing?
What's up, brother?
I like your display back there with your bow and everything. It's pretty nifty.
It reminds me of I'm doing stuff that I'd rather be doing, like going shooting my bow, but I'm working in my office. So good reminder to do fun things, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, my bow's right here too.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
I don't think my wife will let me shoot my bow in the house, so it's like I have my Accu bow up there to practice with. It's the version 1.0, so it doesn't have the new version where
Aw,
you can hook it up and make it a video game. A buddy of mine just bought that for him and his kids. I think it's mostly for him, but it's like it's only video game. He has an Xbox, but he hardly ever picks it up. With three kids, you really don't have the time for it.
no, no. Well, and again, for the kids, right? And that's the likely excuse of any dad. I've got that excuse anytime I go to buy cool stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it'll help the boy hunting as he gets older when he
Right?
turns 8 in 5 years. It'll be great.
Yeah. Plus, it's like it's a throwback to the old arcade games because now the best part is it's like you turn it into a drinking game, you know?
I like where your head's at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was cruising around Hy-Vee here in the Midwest and I picked up a bottle of I got a bottle of Old Elk that's going to be a gift for a friend of mine for a
Nice, buddy.
birthday gift. Yeah. So it's like there's a group of us that what we'll do is for Christmases and birthdays. What we'll do is we'll give everybody a bottle of bourbon.
That's the way to do it. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. I mean, there's so much bourbon out there that people have never had. Like you'll never get old of it. Like it's not something that's going to be passe. It's fun. It's enjoyable, and hell, it gives you an excuse to go drink with your friends. So
Oh yeah, I do a lot of hosting, so it just gives me a purpose. So like when my birthday a couple weeks ago, we did a bottle triple oak, which was delicious. And mind you, phenomenal flavor profile, consistent all the way through. Nice little spice, but then with the caramel and the honey, whew, man, deliciousness. And then for my birthday for gifts, I got a bottle of Woodford Reserve. Um, Elijah Craig 94 proof, and then Glenlivet 12.
nice.
Yes.
If you can find it, the Old Elk cigar cut, you're going to drop some coin on it, but
Yeah,
it's
I bet.
real nice. It's got that kind of smoky tobacco undertone to it. It's neat, fantastic. Throw a rock on it, you can sip on it for hours. It's just the flavor never gets old, and it continues to evolve as the whiskey kind of gets accustomed to the environment.
Nope.
Absolutely
Good.
fantastic stuff. Now, again, you're dropping some coin, but I mean, it's good whiskey, right?
That one might have to be one of those things where like I have to break like 100,000 followers, like Facebook and TikTok or on Instagram before I drop that kind of coin.
You break 100,000 followers, I will buy you a bottle of celebration.
Well, good thing you know a guy that give you a discount on
Huh,
it,
weird.
right? Who would have guessed?
Weird.
I don't know if your nose was itching, but my earlier live, I sat down with Hunter from Rebel Outdoors, and I was
Mhm.
down. He's doing over the counter tags. Like, hey, in a couple hours, I'm sitting down with you. So it's like if you guys ever want to connect, because he wants to do more over the counter hunting. Well,
Yeah,
he wants to do more out of state hunting, but now with the transition, the change that Colorado's made, you have to now have to apply for points. But at least it's like having an asset inside the state and place to meet, and like you already have
absolutely.
a crossroads with somebody to introduce you to. You know, he's a great
Absolutely.
guy. I got to shoot with him. He came to my Meat Fest last year, and he's going to come to Meat Fest this year in May.
Well, let's connect. That'd be awesome, man. Again, anything we can do to help people. I really that's what the whole company's about. I mean, I love the archery side of it. I love building the arrows. I love the
Mhm.
apparel, but being able to just talk with people, right? And you get to have some really interesting conversations around what they're doing, how you can help them. Now, again, you'll see with our new line that just got dropped, a thing called No Tell 'em Hunt Camp.
Yeah.
So no tell 'em. But we'll definitely give out some tips. And again, there's just
Yeah.
so much to be had here, and the changes in Colorado,
Yeah.
good,
I
bad,
got. I'm rocking my
otherwise.
shirt, of course.
My man, love it,
Yeah. Yeah.
love it.
And then for those that pay attention to my lives, I'm always subliminally wearing something or something's in the background of an upcoming a prize. So it's like those who pay attention get to kind of get an idea. And tonight, before I got on live with you, one of the people I approached during Thanksgiving, he got back out to me again. It's like, yes, I want to be part of it. It's like this is awesome. I'll tell you off camera because every announcement's always got to be special.
I like it.
Yeah, so it was pretty exciting to get that because I didn't think it was going to get it. But he's like, he explained to me, it's like I've just been hunting hardcore, and it's like, but it's like anything regarding work, it's like do it through my email. Then this way, then I go through it because now I've kind of recognized that with how busy he is, it makes sense to do it through email. Text messaging you can look at, and
Absolutely.
you get a dozen other ones, and now that conversation's buried. At least with an email, it kind of keeps it fresh.
But it keeps it professional, right? Because there's so many times we have kind of off-kilter conversations, and again, no problem with that. That's just the state of who we are as people. Where that instant gratification communication's right here with the DM, but having an email where you can really formulate quality thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
get down ideas,
Mm-hmm.
especially like when you and I did this, setting out a format for what we want to talk about with the podcast. And that really it brings quality content. And I'm pretty good off the cuff, but it's nice to have some structure to it. But from a business standpoint, it's professional. It feels good, and it gives people you're interacting with something tangible to grasp onto.
Oh, yeah, you were just on the podcast with my buddy Dre for the Dreaded Archer podcast, which was lit. You know, it's like I like that. I appreciate that he tagged me in some of the posts because I look
Yeah.
at the view count and like it went up. It's like this is awesome that people are recognizing you, and it's like this is what we want to see. Because your episode, I was the first one I applied with Opus Clip, so I just went hard into it. I mean, I clipped a whole bunch of
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And I was posting. Well, you saw all that stuff to just to bring a spotlight to what you guys are doing out there in Colorado, and then that's why I wanted to bring you into the giveaway. At least ask. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't in the budget, it is what it is. But it's the end of the season, so some people are always looking to like, how can I get rid of some reduce some taxes?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and again, it's half. It's name branding, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we have a fairly unique logo. We have a fairly unique story, and there's not many people that do what we do. But it's also a way to give back to the community, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you look at some of these companies that are really taking off from an apparel standpoint. Sometimes it's really just one or two designs, and people just grasp onto it, and that's kind of the formula we're trying to figure out here is what people want. So being able to give away something like our patched hat, that'll be part of the giveaway tonight. Our new line of apparel that went live. Oh, there's one of the designs. There's a few others on
Ooh,
there. No
that's
Tell 'em Hunt
solid.
Camp. Little story behind No Tell 'em why this is fun. So that actually comes from my partner Adam.
Mm-hmm.
We'd always talk about where we're going hunting. Well, we're going to No Tell 'em Hunt Camp, and it took me a little bit when I first started hunting to him to figure out what he was talking about. And it was like, no tell him. So we thought we'd throw it on a shirt. It's something unique. It's cool. It's Adam and I share it. We think it's funny. It's engaging. And again, I think that's half of what you got to do with this type of a business is find ways to just connect with the audience and be able to spend time with you, talk about hunting, talk about life. And the podcast, we really kind of covered the whole gamut of subjects, which was awesome. I really got to do the same thing with Trey over at Dreaded Archer. And fun guy to talk to. If you guys haven't seen his podcast, definitely take the time to watch it. If you haven't seen Bucks of America, for those that are my followers, definitely follow, like, share YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and that's how we grow as small businesses. It's word of mouth, and it's the community around us.
So has Tyler Chris from the Chris Hunting podcast reached out to you yet?
Not
Okay,
yet. Just
all
sitting
right.
here.
Because
I know we're going to
you
have a
two
conversation to drink and talk about hunting.
you two would get along exactly. You two both have the exact same mentality of it, where it's like he has the same appreciation. He likes good bourbon. I mean, him and I talk almost on the daily about different bourbons. Like, hey, have you tried this yet? Because
Yeah.
he's actually has a restaurant, or it's a bar restaurant type thing, but they deal with like a premium whiskeys. It's a whiskey bar essentially with really quality food out there in Maryland. So he's very talented. He's a great guy. He shot his just shot his biggest buck on my birthday with a rifle. So it's like, talk about
Nice.
epic. I get a text message like I'm just rooting for him and stuff like that. Everybody's looking like, why am I so excited? Because a friend of mine got the biggest buck of his life,
Right.
and now he has a new one to put on the wall.
That's always such a good feeling to get that phone call. And I love getting those texts, especially from people that are Ullr's family. You get that photo.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McFarland, one of the guys that, and you've heard me kind of reference him a couple of times, got the absolute monster bull elk of a lifetime and sent me the photo. And just, it was like a kid and his dad. Like I was so happy I couldn't even contain myself. like just seeing that is like, holy crap, well done. Now, a little jealous, but I mean, comes with the territory, right?
Yeah. Did you hear about Efron? His daughter got a 200-inch mule deer, and he got himself his first bull elk is a 340. It's like, dude, talk about a blessed year.
Right. And again, I think it comes in waves like that. But those guys with Efren and that whole team, they hunt so hard and they put so much time into preparing, studying. I mean, they're the people you want to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with their events, and I saw them on here earlier with Western Hunt Fest. If you guys haven't done it, find a way to get out here. It's a blast to do. These are great people. All the companies that are there are so into it and very connected with the Colorado hunt lifestyle, like with Rut holsters and um, Western Contours. There's just so many companies. Hunt Like Harvest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really
Mm-hmm.
cool community. So if you get the opportunity to go and see them, one, you're gonna pick up a ton of knowledge. That's the best part about it. Is you'll walk away, even if you don't compete, you feel like a more apt hunter. And especially when you get to, like, if you've ever talked with Joe from Elk Bros, that was one of the coolest experiences I ever had because I'm not a great elk caller. I'm still learning quite a bit, and it's taken me a long time. 10 minutes with him, night and day difference in my calling capabilities. And it was just hunters talking to hunters. And I guess that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we talked about, is that fireside chat in our podcast. Was That's what we enjoy about it. We enjoy people just getting together and just having these conversations because it's this tribal mentality. It's this tribal intellect collective.
Oh, I completely 100% agree on that because there's people I shoot with, and every time I get done shooting, I always feel like I evolved a little bit better, whether
Mhm.
it be how I grip it, release, back tension, whatever the case may be. I always feel like I'm always elevating my game around them. And I don't know if you saw this, is that early this summer, first competition I ever competed in, actually where there was a prize. I just do it for fun, just because it's like it's all about having fun, and it's like and just adding. And I won third place and I won a quiver from Kafaru, one of those
Oh,
Kafaru hip
nice.
quivers. Yeah, so like now my entire family, my wife has one, my daughter has one, and I have one.
Yeah, and once you start, you can't go back, especially when you find a good quality product like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so hard to step away from it. Mine's my T&K hunting
Yep.
chest harness. I,
Same here, man. I love it.
I
It's
I got mine years ago. My wife got it for me for a Christmas gift. She called all my friends that are hunters, like, "Hey, what does he actually have so I get the right size?" And dude, you can beat the piss out of it. It was like that Kafaru,
Mhm.
well built, American made, and you can't go wrong with it.
Oh yeah. I've upgraded my T&K to have the admin pouch in the bottom, rangefinder, the second admin. I have the Generation 2.1. Then I also got the Scout Pack. The only thing I haven't done yet is sent it in to have it restitched to have the Molly put into it. So it's like this is so it's like I am a T&K fan, but I tell people, like, if you're gonna buy his gear, just do it like after Christmas time, because usually he's always running like a
Yep.
15 to 18% off discount, and it's during the off season, so it's like, why not order something like this, so then when it comes for turkey season, you're good to go, or when you're ready to go start scouting again.
Yep.
Because when I was listening to Muley Freaks, it's like the way you shoot big muleys is you got to put the time behind the glass to be able to shoot them, because it's not like whitetail where you can throw up some cameras. Like
Nope.
mule deer is a whole other animal. Plus, it's like you guys, where it's envious of you guys, where you have all this wide open territory. For us, it's like fence line to fence line. That's it.
Oh, and it's so funny too because again, the time you spend out there. I Deer hunting this year. I don't think we saw two deer the whole time. It was crazy. But that's just kind of the way it goes. Because there's other years where, of course, I had an elk tag when that happened. There was just more deer than you could shake a stick at. That's always how it goes. But it's just that unpredictability is kind of what keeps you coming back. And I think there gets to a point with certain styles of hunting. It's just you kind of go through the motions. Mule deer hunting, elk hunting, pronghorn hunting, from what I've heard, it, it you can study, you can really put time and effort in, but no hunt's going to be the same.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So, like in Wisconsin, here on public land, I've seen two deer, and I've had to go high up. Like like our highest peaks here, like 1,200 feet, and so
Yep.
I had to go 1,200 feet plus to be able to find my first buck sign, because it's public land. So you have to go further and farther in there. I found my
Yep.
first fresh buck sign. So I was like, okay, I don't know how big this is. So it's like I just waited for him, and I turned behind me, and I'm all after hearing the squirrels play back and forth. I look behind, all I see is two eyes and two forks looking right back at me.
And you're like,
Nice little 2x2. And then I go out to Nebraska. I hunted three different properties. Each one had a 160 bigger class buck on it,
yep.
and I see all three of them. I'll have to send. I don't think I sent you a picture of the one I had an opportunity for on the last day of the hunt, because I shot two deer down there. I shot two doe, and on the last day of the hunt, I had a doe like 40 yards. I was like, why not fill a tag? It's last light. It's right there. It was meant to be. Behind it was this 170 split G2 buck. Because I didn't see him through my scope as I'm racking the
Yep.
round.
Oh.
But it's like he came down off the hillside from the brush, and he noped the fuck out. He just like
Yeah,
just went right back. I was like, oh, okay.
it's funny how skittish those whitetails are too, man. I think it's so interesting to have conversations with people that hunt whitetail versus people that hunt mule. They're two polar opposite animals. Even though they're in
For
the
sure.
same general deer species, they're just so different from each other. And mule deer, we shot ours. The whole herd just turned around, and just stared at us. They didn't move. They didn't run. They just stared at you.
They're
They're
dumb.
really inquisitive. Yeah, I can't, like, is it dumb or is it just they're learning and they're watching and they know nothing else is going to happen? But they're such weird animals. But God forbid you have you take one wrong step with a whitetail and it's gone. You ain't seeing
Oh
them
yeah.
again.
Oh yeah. I've had a 160 at 55 yards, and all of a sudden I'm at full draw,
Mhm.
and ice breaks off from the tree above me, hits the blind, and bounced
It
it.
was, it was funny. I was talking with my family out in Nebraska. 'Cause we have a big farm just south of Kearney and Grand Island. And normally they start to see deer as they start to cut corn. As the field starts to come down, the bucks will move out of the corn into the tree lines. They didn't see a single deer this year. So I don't know what's happening in Nebraska, but this is the second year in a row the deer populations have been down south of I-80. So I'm
Strange.
stoked, so stoked you got to see that up there, because I was surprised when you said that, because it's been a rough hunting season.
Well, the guys I hunt with, they have a bunch of leased land out there, so
Mhm.
that may add to the extra protection of it all. But I'm hunting blue south east. Yeah, blue southeast. They're just south over by Pawnee. That's where
Yeah.
the infamous Larry the Cable guy's from. Drove right by his house too.
Yep.
And it's funny when we dropped off our bucks, because out of the six of us, four of them shot bucks. I shot two does, and one guy went home back to Alabama with the tag in his pocket. And when we went in and checked out, there was this was Saturday midday, because we shot two nice bucks opening morning,
Right.
and then when they dropped them off to go, because since you're familiar with Nebraska, those who aren't, you have to get a metal tag to identify that's been registered.
Yep.
Just how they do it there. And there was 200 class pictures on the wall that were shot within 30 miles of Pawnee.
There's parts of that Nebraska land, man, that they grow some seriously good sized deer. I mean, they're not Kansas quality. That's a whole different level of whitetail, but
Mm-hmm.
and there's some big deer that come out of Nebraska, and we're praying it starts to bring the population back. So I definitely miss it. Plus, it's fun to be out on the family farm and see my cousins and just kind of get back into that lifestyle. But and I'm stoked that you got it, man. That's a good deer.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty. They were all pretty happy about it. Like one guy, his name's Zach New, and he's the owner of Native Scents out of Alabama, and he's hunted Nebraska 8 years in a row, seven of them which he went home tag or with a tag soup. So that's 16 hours one way. And so,
Yep.
but things connected for him. He shot himself a beautiful 16 scoreable points on this. I think it's probably 156 or maybe 160 class buck, just stud, thick neck. It was amazing.
Uh, uh, Good on him. Makes me jealous. What a bastard.
No, he's been trying. He's been very patient and peaceful over the years. So it's things just kind of worked out for him. His dad, on the other hand, he's a little bit more picky.
Right.
His his grandpa came with them, so all three generations were hunting.
Oh,
He shot himself a nice looking 8-point, probably a 140s
yep.
buck, but just really really nice. But he's 87 years old. Shot it at 300 and I think it was like 325 yards, something like that, and just boom,
Oh
but
my.
You're familiar with CRP land. This is the first time I ever hunted in CRP land. Dude, it is a nightmare. The first doe I shot came within uh, uh, bow distance. So it's like, well, I put my crosshairs on the small on the top of her back.
Mm-hmm.
Still a gut shot. So like, I have no idea that there was going to be that much of a drop that short. They're so close together. I don't know. I'm not a rifle guy. I'm an archery guy. So it's like learning the gun is like, I definitely need to get more time behind it. But I tracked her for 815 yards, and I'm looking through CRP, tall grass, taller than me, and I'm looking for droplets all over the place. But
Dude, it's so
hey,
bad.
we didn't give.
And like,
We didn't give up for it.
it's hard because I mean, your mentality gets so into the bow mentality, and I
Mm-hmm.
really have to take a hard step back and be like, all right, forget everything I've just been doing for like the last 60 days and really shift my mindset back to rifle and like, what is my shot actually going to look like? Have I prepared enough? And I find this a lot when I go to the range. We have a really awesome range, like 20 minutes from the house. But you get out there and you watch a lot of hunters that we see a lot of guys that come through that are just weekend taggers and they're going back home. They'll put like two shots on paper and off they go. And I get out there, I'll spend 2 hours and maybe send 20 rounds down range. What if I'm not doing this? I like it's not a good day, and it's a very very different mentality. I really have to shift my mindset back to that. Hey, there's a level of precision that's capable as long as you're willing to put in the time. And like with a bow, just like that, it's just shooting over and over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
again,
Mm-hmm.
studying and having someone watch you and critique you. That's one of the best things I've ever had done. Of you're not from Colorado, but Liberty Firearms, just over here in Johnstown. Dana's the bow shop owner, dude. He will sit there and critique you, give you all these tips. Don't charge you for it. He's just a good dude, but having that trust and just time, and that's what if I could gift that to more hunters. And again, some people they just don't have the time for it. That's the other thing that sucks is they love hunting, they just don't have the time to go do that. And you and I are very blessed to be able to go to the ranges whenever we want, go out and spend 2 hours with your rifle. I mean, how many times you've ever done that in your life? And most people I know that hunt have never done that. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
just so different.
It is. It is very different behind it because now with it, it's like I want to practice at long distance and in short distances to be able to find out what the rifle will do at 30 yards, 40 yards, like
Mhm.
every 20 yards. Because it's like for me, it's like, oh, it's a 30-yard shot. Well, apparently, like the distance from the scope and the barrel are two different things, and it's like, okay, now is it now it comes down to like, is it me or is the rifle? Like that's also one thing I recognize is that my rifle is extremely light, and so
Right.
it kicks like a mule. And but it's like I had a chance I had the pleasure to shoot a 300 Win Mag custom build. And dude, it was 9 day difference. I mean, I rattled off two shots within like a second of each other, and the barrel didn't even jump. Just ma'am. And it was I was shooting at a 160 dead sprint going after a couple of does. And it's like after the second shot, it's like it's just like I'm not going to waste another round because then I found out like 300 Win Mags, they're like $3 a shot. So it was like that was like $6 right there.
Oh yeah, and it gets expensive. Like that, those 20 rounds at the range, I reload all my own ammo, and even then, it still costs me like 250 a shot. And it gets every time you go to the range, you slide $100 bill on fire. So,
It's
I
exactly
mean,
right. That's why I
it,
switched to archery because I can go back and retrieve my ammunition and reuse it.
right? As long as you don't shoot the tree, then you have to. That makes for a fun afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Just don't shoot the tree.
Yeah.
There's tip of the day. Don't shoot the tree.
I got when I was setting in my rifle, I got really lucky that I got to work with a couple of Marines, stuff like that. They had the nice spotting, or nice glass
Yeah.
and spotting scope, stuff like that. So they helped me get everything dialed in at 175 yards, like perfect. But it's like I don't know, no means to really pay you, but it's like here's all. I asked, do you guys reload? It's like yeah, it's like here's some 30-06. Take this from me. So it's like just to pay. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that. It's like spending the time getting me lined up and ready to rock and roll.
Well, here's some whiskey knowledge for you, right? Some whiskey trivia. So you ever wonder where the term shot came from? Like you go to the bar and get a shot?
I've heard of the definition. I just don't know off the top of my
So
head.
back in the cowboy days, and ammo was hyper expensive. It was kind of rare as well. So not a lot of
Hmm.
people made it. You couldn't necessarily just go and buy boxes of rounds out on the prairie. So cowboy walk into a bar. If he didn't have money, he'd put a bullet on the bar. Give me a shot. So
Shot.
pour
There you
himself
go.
whiskey, barter a bullet for a shot.
Yeah, that's what my definition like. That's what my gut was telling me, but it's like maybe there's something different that I haven't heard in a while. So it's like okay, so it's like my understand like I knew it right off the get go. It's like because the shot was so expensive because of the scarcity of it. So it's
Right.
like the thing is if you're shooting a 45 Colt or any a 44 was it Judge or whatever. I'm not a pistol guy from that
Right.
era, so I'm
45 long
talking.
pole.
Yeah, but it's like some of those rounds are very, very difficult to find, especially when you get into Arizona and New Mexico. It's
Yeah.
like you see these gunfights on uh, these westerns. Like it wasn't like that. It's like it probably was half of what we saw. It's just because
Right.
they have it's modern day, so they have all this stuff on them. So it's like they maybe shot far less when they do these shootouts.
Right. Yeah, they had to make every shot count.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy history, right?
For sure. Oh yeah. But anyways, to continue on here, so you sent me a list of what you're going to provide for the winners. Wasn't sure if this is going to be one big prize or do you want to give this to multiple winners?
Let's do it as one big prize, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw use code Bucks of America on our website for any of the apparel that's on there. It now through the first of the year, I'll throw it on there with a 15% discount. So thank you one for always being a good friend of ours and just having us on and just be able to shoot the shit. We love being able to talk with you, so we can enjoy it there. And then as far as the giveaway, obviously it'll be one of our branded. These are the nice Richardson hats, so they're not the cheap ones. They do fit really
Mhm.
well. A piece of our apparel, and then a $50 credit towards a custom arrow build. So obviously we know how, and it's not cheap to build arrows. And for a lot of people having something custom, this is a way to get into it. Obviously we'll do the custom design for the wraps. We'll do all the color coordinating, whatever you want with the veins. And then I'll spend some time with the winner, understand how they shoot, what they like shooting at, what they typically hunt, get all the specs off their bow, really learn who they are as a shooter, and then when the arrows go out with their build, there really will be a truly custom tuned item for them.
That's phenomenal news. And then shout out to my friends that are developing the Toxin app. You can actually go in there and learn how to fine tune it and add all those specs into it. So having multiple bows, I'm able to put all those different bows into the app, and it's a good way to like play around with it to figure out how it fits
Yep.
for you. Then you got the Bow Shop Bible. It's intuitive, but it's more of a broad spectrum. So it's like it's still growing and still learning like what is valuable for said person to use the app and stuff like that. A lot of people love using the app, and Corey is a phenomenal guy out of Illinois.
Well, and the bows too, right? And if there's one thing we've learned over the last couple of years of doing this, the deeper I get into bow technology, I mean, the same bow that's 70 pounds, like with my Omnia, versus like the new Matthews Lift, same specs, same draw. Like I could literally, as close as you could get the bows, minus the technology difference, they're two very different piece of capable technology. Uh, they require two totally different arrows. And we've learned that, like with Matthews, they like a little bit of a lighter arrow rather than like my Omnia likes a really stiff arrow. And we found that
Yeah, my
just
Carbon
playing
Air
with.
is the same thing.
Yep. My business partner's Hoyt, and same difference. He needs a very very stiff arrow, and then his wife Taylor, I built her some. You saw some of the War Party stuff we've been doing.
Mhm.
We built her a set of custom War Party arrows, and we got them down there for her brand new Matthews, and they were too stiff. So we had to kind of dial it back, add some weight to the front of it, starting to loosen up the spine a little bit. Now, obviously, as she goes up in draw weight, those arrows will start to evolve and become the right fit for her. But
Mhm. Mhm.
there's so much bow to bow, and then shooter to shooter. Again, little factors can really change the build. So that's why we like to have that custom moment, spend some time with you. When I get to know you, you get to realize I'm not a complete idiot, and we're somewhat fun to talk to. Uh,
Yeah.
but also send something that's personal out to the field. And like you can go buy a box of arrows at the store anytime you want. Again, guys have killed more animals than I ever will doing that, but it's nice to have something that's truly tuned to you, and then that confidence that it builds in you going out into the field, knowing that this is literally designed for what you're asking it to do.
Oh, for sure. the best way to do it. Like I'm very blessed to live in archery country here, literally, and so I have multiple people to pull references from.
Yeah.
The hunter from the previous conversation we had, he's been a Hoyt guy. He's had the last four bows are all
Yep.
Hoyts, and then he was going to buy the new Hoyt RX-8, and he went home with a Matthews Lift X. So it's like, isn't that something? And then Darton, they came out with, I don't know if you watched them break down
Well,
Darton. It's like, that sounds like all the tweaking they added to it. It's their own version of set technology, but Elite was just ahead of the curve. He got everything patented and built into the risers and the cams, where theirs has a multi-point thing, but it's like, it's the same technology. I'm really happy they were able to come up with something that's originally theirs and
yeah.
don't do what Athens Archery did with Bowtech.
Well, and flattery is always the biggest form, or excuse me, copying someone is always the biggest form of flattery, and I think a lot of bow companies are going down that path. It's really hard not to follow the trends because again,
Mm-hmm.
unless you have that type of design capability, and like Jason Beach, I talked with him over at Elite. Hey, the dude's a genius, and what that company is doing to push every single limit. I mean, that's just the nature of just technological evolution with these bows, and the technology it's not going to stop. I think the big thing that, and I talked with Trey about this, you're going to see a lot more companies using carbon. You're going to see a lot of different materials starting to come out, different metal combinations, the cams. I mean, I just see the sky's the limit with cam evolution, how far they're willing to push that. Now, again, I think there comes with some potential design issues there that could cause issues, but Darton, they've been around forever. They're good at what they do, and they're bringing some cool tech. Matthews, Hoyt, Elite, and really, there's not a bad bow out there. You just got to figure out the one that fits you the best and go shoot them. That's my other big thing. Go shoot. If you're looking at a bow, go shoot every freaking bow you can get your hand on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was really, when I was going to move away from Obsession, I really thought Matthews was going to be my fit. And I was dead set. This is what I'm doing. Spent some time with Dana. I shot the Matthews. It was good. It was really good. Shot the PSC, shot the Prime, Hoyt, and then he put that Omni in my hands, and it was night and day difference. And then for me, awesome. Same bow in my partner's hands. He can shoot it. It's just he shoots better with his Hoyt. So I think everyone's just got to kind of find their flavor to it. But cheers to Darton. Well done. Yeah, they got some cool tech.
And then Prime, they came out with their dual aluminum and carbon fiber. I have a friend of mine. He was in. He jumped on, and Rick. His name's Rick's Park. He's Park Place Outdoors, and he has a 32 and a half inch draw, and it caps out at 31 and a half. So it's just a little bit, and it's a longer axle too.
Right.
It's just, they just don't have but it's a first gen model of it. So who knows, in maybe 6 months they'll come out with mods or cams that you can swap for it to be able to do it. So I figured that but they came out with they released a stable product that was good for the user and good overall experiences. And that's what every bow manufacturer is striving for, is that it's like, how does it fit your hand? Because I've shot Bowtechs and I didn't like the way it felt. I've shot Matthews where it's like the 29 and a half, loved it. 33 it's like everybody's going to have a different sensation. Like everybody's different ages of when they shoot the bows too. Because like a 20-year-old shooting a bow compared to a 40-year-old is going to be different because they have not had as many bumps and bruises as a 40-year-old has.
Well, and it's a quest for speed too, right? I mean, look at where bows have come in the last 10 years. And the speed capabilities of some of this new tech it's kind of unbelievable. And these arrows are getting fast, but that's also forcing the evolution of the arrow as well. And you're seeing so much technology like the ultras from Ultra arrows with their spineless technology. That's game changing. I mean, Jason sent me that. I built them. They're insane. But then
So you
you still
think they're
got
worth that 225 price tag?
they're good tech.
They're
They're good tech.
good tech.
If we could carry them, I would totally put that on my docket. They're 166s, so I mean that's a different flavor for a lot of people. I don't know, kind of 204s, 166s. There's kind of a camp for both people there. I see the pros and cons of both. But they've still got the standards with the victories. I said we released our line of arrows. Trying to find that middle ground between really well built quality technology that's not going to break the bank and And I put it out there like 168 bucks a set, and that's not terrible for a build set. And you're getting
Mhm.
aluminum inserts, you're getting ballistic collars, you're getting dual O-ring, field points, knock collar, knock, and the arrow. All you literally have to do is cut it. Obviously, do your due diligence as you put it together when you cut it and assemble, but throw some fletching on it and let it fly. And trying to give people that nearly victory like VAP level arrow technology at a price point that the average shooter can go and do it and not feel bad when you lose one. Because again, for me, anytime I lose it, it's just my level of rage. I was like, I just watched $45 just sail over that target. I'm never finding it again.
Yeah, yeah. I usually take some VAP arrows out there. They're target arrows that they have. They're like 130 bucks for
Yep.
a dozen. And so it's like I will do those, and then for when I'm fine tuning, I will use, what am I currently using? I'm using Maxima.
The
I
Maxima Red.
have my arrows right here. Let's see here. I am using Carbon Express Maxima Saber.
Nice.
Saber 350 spine, tri spine. They stabilize really well. I'm using a four fletching, and they stabilize. And with the I use switch to a 125 grain arrow, and they stabilize really, really well at shots at 60 plus.
Nice. I mean,
So that's
that.
one thing I wanted to was focused for 2024 is building something that will be stable at 60 plus yards and be consistent wherever I put my pin at. And so that came down with a better release, better arrow. The Broadhead company VIP I've been using since 2016, so I've
Yep.
always been stuck with them. So it's just kind of going from there. But it's like it comes down to using a good fletching is where it really comes down to.
Well, and a lot of things we too. We do a lot of different builds.
Wow, look at
These
that.
new
That's fun.
the hybrid XBs from AAE.
Hmm.
So I get to play with all kinds of different technology. And I've been a big boning fan for a long time. I really love the shield cut. I love the controllability. I love the forgiveness because it's a softer vein. I
Hmm.
shot tax for a long time. Great product, not my thing. I know a lot of people love them, and there's a use case for all those. But having that softer, more forgiving vein, especially in temperature sensitive environments, is like the tax. If I left the tax in my archery bag in my truck, the actual fletching would start to bend because it's really heat sensitive. Whereas something like this, not so heat sensitive, but actually has texturing on it to help guide and control the arrow as it's spinning. So again, four fletch, I do a lot of four fletch. That's what I prefer. Um, and the technology that's out there is crazy. So I think I'd be able to talk
Hmm.
to archers. If you have questions, call me. I'm happy to run scenarios through you, shoot the shit, and again, maybe you buy something from me, maybe you don't. Maybe we just have a really cool conversation and you feel better about yourself. Winning
Well, you
all
could
day
do
long.
like you could do what my friend Mike Stonebreaker does from the boutique.
Yep.
He does. He'll just go on live and just start building arrows, just
Yep.
doing the wraps, build the arrows like that, and that's a great way to build a following and content like after his kids go to bed. It's a great way to do that, and it just he's I don't know if you listened to that podcast yet, but he was able to take making wraps part time to full time. And dude,
Yep.
he prints off thousands of them, and they're good
Dude,
quality. I have them on my Devastators, on my PS23. So
he
they're good quality wraps.
he does some cool stuff. I've actually talked to them before. Again, I do a lot of my own stuff, so obviously
True,
ours
true.
with the logo and all that. So he's got some cool tech, and again, the designs they're such a massive departure from what's on the market. I think people have just gotten really accustomed to just blah. And again, I don't like blah. He very clearly does not like blah, but he does a great job
No.
pushing it out there. So good on him from Boutique. I follow him. It's cool to see what he's coming out with, and
Mhm.
I don't know, man. It's when you get the right people and you get that custom feel. I think that's the one thing that's truly missing from the archery world is everything's so wash, rinse, repeat, and hopefully that's what we can bring to the environment is just that little bit of a personal touch. So I'm like when I build your arrows, like these are mine, so my personal touch. They've got the logo on them. It's
Mhm.
also tattooed on my arm, so you can see I'm very about my company. But again, technology there, and just doing it right, and then the customer service side of it too. Hey, there's been some times where we had something fail. And my guarantee is always going to be send it back to me. I'll take care of it. I'll make it right. And then there's some guys just flat out don't care about that. And for me, it's a personal reputation. It's in the field. It's in your hands. I want to make sure that you are going in the field 100% comfortable with the shot, and hopefully you're sending me a sweet picture of something massive. And again, I get to be that dad again. Just watch everyone with their success.
Oh, I completely agree. I had a buddy of mine, so it's like he was out broadhead shopping, and so I told him this is what I'm shooting. This I gave him 100 grain, and I'm using 125. He shot one of his biggest bucks straight patched through. The buck piled up, and he couldn't find the arrow. It's like it did it. It's like that's a good sign the arrow did its job. It sucks that he has to. He's lucky I'm his neighbor. So, but you know how you said getting back to like helping people get into it. I helped 2 people really get into archery and getting into learning about stabilizers. So my next door neighbor, like I'm one of those people, I'm one of those gearheads. So I have 6-inch stabilizers all the way up to 15-inch stabilizers. Like I just go like, here, try them all out. I'm not shooting right now, or I'm not going to be shooting. It's like you have more time on your hands. Figure out what works for you and kind of play around with it. And he ended up going with either an 8 or 10-inch front and a 6-inch back from the SmackDown Pros from Conquest. But it's like he had a variety from Bee Stinger, Conquest, and HHA to figure like what fits his bow, what fits him. And so he's out hunting, he's out shooting animals. So it's like it's a win for me.
Well, and stabilize is such a funny thing too, because everyone's going to have a different feel. And for me, I tried the really long stabilizers, and they're great for competitions. But for me, the majority of my time I get to spend shooting, I'm practicing for the field. So I went with an 11-inch on the front and an 8-inch on the back. But the way they're set up is the 8-inch is actually closer to the body of the bow. So as I'm moving through brush, and again, if one of these times we'll get you out here to hunt with us up in the crap that we hunt in, but having a long stabilizer, it's just exhausting because your bow's hitting on everything. There's no real good way to carry it. And I've tried a couple of different ways where like putting the bow over my shoulder. Now, if I got to talk with the bow hitch guys, they did a custom bow hitch for us. If you haven't seen that thing's a freaking lifesaver for carrying the bow a long way. My man, I know you had one. Mondo does some cool stuff. It's just.
And then I also had the bow spider too.
The bow spider. You need to send me what that is.
Yeah, it's if you let's see here. Let me get this transition here so I can show you. So essentially, what it is, it's a locking pin right here that goes into a puck, and it's easy on, easy off. That's all it is. But it's great for different types of packing in. So if I know I'm going to be packing in a couple of miles, or if I'm going up the bluffs here, I'll put it on my back, and this way then I can just mount it on there. And it just clicks in there, and you have to practice with it, but as you become more effective with it, you're able to remove it. But it's like I like having both of them as just 2 tools in my toolbox for making my life easier, because I carry one on my belt and one on my backpack. Where the bow hitch, I have the sling along with the wire or the piece of fabric that connects to it, or I'll put it on my T&K hunting harness. But yeah, I went with a 15-inch front bar. And then I went with a 12-inch back bar, but I'm only hunting whitetails, so it's like well, for me, it's like I know it's gonna suck carrying it, so I just mentally prepare that I just gotta be more mindful for it, and I just gotta make sure all my connection points are nice and tight.
Yeah, and that's the best part about this is there's no silver bullet.
No,
and I've had a couple conversations with people where they're like, "Well, can't you just build me?" I'm like, "No." But there's no silver bullet. There's what you do, and there's what everyone else does, and it's not going to be the same. And all the advice in the world I can give you, it may not be right. You may find something that is just so unique to you as a shooter that it can't be replicated, and that's why I love this, because it's again, you're not sitting here at just this plateau. It's always evolving, and it's fun. So.
It's not like rifle hunting. It's like that all comes down to powder and how much it costs, and like what's all the chemicals basically. So you can build consistency in a bullet. But when it comes into archery, like you said, it's like everybody has their own unique definition from it. It's like somebody may use a 4-finger release, somebody may use a 3-finger release, a 2-finger release, and it's like you may anchor the same, but it's like it's always going to be different once you get it seated in your anchor point. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to be different. So it's like like I've gotten several people to at least try out thumb releases or
Mm-hmm.
back tension, just because it's like you're able to now create a stable, consistent anchor point. When you have the thumb release back here, like you could be off by a couple of centimeters, but at least when it's dialed in, when the draw length and your release is set up, like just take your
Your knuckle is just
knuckle
right there.
and
Now,
right there on that jawbone. It's like, and you find that jawbone, even with all this fur, I can still find it.
well, like little things you learn, like tricks for those that do use a wrist release. One of the old shooters taught me is taking your thumb, putting it on the back of your head, and now you have an anchor point because your finger should always touch your cheekbone, and then just so little
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
And but to your point with a thumb release, my accuracy, it was noticeably different. But for me, it also took a lot of stress off my shoulder. The way I draw my bow back versus a wrist strap, all the weight's coming towards your fingers. When you turn your hand just ever that little bit, it stiffens your arm. And it was easier for me to draw, easier for me to anchor. I actually went and modified my Scott release. I'll be doing a video on the lady that did this, but she actually milled a 5/8 inch thumb release barrel for me, so I could just unscrewed the thumb trigger, screwed this new one on there, set screw, and again, it was a nice big fat round piece of machine metal that's now just sitting in that spot where all I have to do is just a little bit of back tension on it, and it sets it off versus having to physically pull my thumb and punch it. Night and day difference how I shoot, and just little things like that can make a difference for people.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. It's like these are the fidget spinners of for adults, and so what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll sit there and I'll play around with it, and I'll just wait until it's like the idea is it's like with having the AccuBow there, I can just sit back here and I can just go back. And the idea is that the way Dudley explains it is you want to wrap your thumb around the barrel and allow your hand in the muscles and the joints naturally pull the trigger for you. So it's like for me, it's actually a very light trigger pull, and so and it makes some people that pick it up and shoot it, it's like, wow, that's hot. It's like, yeah, but it's like the nice thing is like what's very, yeah, it's crisp too. And even with whether it be Scott or Hot Shot or any of those type of releases, they all have that customizability all right here to stiffen it up, lighten it up, all based off what you want to do. And I have I have 5 different thumb releases from Hotspot, and each one is actually set up just a little bit different based off of what I'm using that release for. Like I have 2
Right.
releases that I use for target archery. One's a little bit heavier, one's a little bit lighter. It all depends on the day. Like if it's a hot day, I will go with a lighter release, but if it's a cool day, I'll go with something heavier because it's like I want the build up for that release to go off.
Well, you're cold, your hands are a little bit stiff. You want a little bit of
Yes.
forgiveness, and that heavier release does that. I mean, you find that with a rifle trigger pull, and I've got an adjustable trigger on my Christensen, and in really cold weather, I'll actually dial it off just a little bit because again, hands are cold. You're not going to have the same sensation shooting warm. It's a flat face trigger. The way I grip my rifle is very unique. I actually don't grip around the grip. My thumb's to the side, and as I pull it into my body, hands are here, and then it's just ever so slight back pressure and trigger goes off. But the feel on a cold day versus a warm day, 2 totally different shooting experiences.
Hmm.
Same with archery, and my Scott's the same way. I always keep a backup just in case, but I have to be very mindful with myself on a cold day shooting that I need to take my time, and
Hmm.
I can't just get into the shot, pull, anchor, and let it fly. I really do have to think about it a little bit more. But again, that's the beauty of this is it's just you never stop learning. And if you stop learning with archery, I mean, I don't know what sport to put you in, but you're in the wrong one.
Oh, yeah, I shoot with Brian Ham. He's the engineer for HJ Sports, and he actually takes his sight and inverts it. So when he's at full draw and the pins are coming down on the target, the scope is coming down first.
Interesting.
Yeah, Yeah, he's the joys of being the engineer of
Right.
HHA Sports to figure it all out. And there's people that have seen it do it and now copy it. You just gotta basically custom order it to get the parts right. So this way, then because going to a shop, they're not going to take one housing off one bow and put it on another one, and like
Right.
now it's like you have one incomplete or two incomplete sights, but only made for one. So, but it can be done. He shoots like I shot with him at the R100 2 years ago, and it's amazing watching him do it because he draws back, the pin comes down right over where and just shoots. And then I was down in Nebraska and I was shooting with a buddy of mine's mom, or hanging out with his mom, and she was watched Brandon Waddell talk about like how he developed target panic,
Right.
and he starts from the bottom up. He brings his sight housing below the animal, brings it up, and then tries to level off from there and let the arrow fly. So there's a lot of unique techniques from it. I had a friend of mine that suffered from target panic like 3 or 4 years ago, like was about ready to hang everything all up, and he just started with a bail with no dots on it. He's like, just hit the bail.
Yep.
And then he went from there, and he just kept on making his target smaller and smaller, and he just has a really heavy back tension. Like I tried back tension, is like luckily like having the diversity of the releases that I have, it's a way to hedge to avoid developing target panic, because it's like I can't say like having multiple ones will stop it. It's like I've heard people that have gone through multiple thumb releases or multiple triggers and still have target panic. So there's no right or wrong answer to this solution.
Well, and the other thing is draw weight, right? I mean, again, in that quest for speed, we have pushed the bows so far.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, most people don't need more than the 60-pound draw. And you talk about like target panic, that's very different at 60 pounds than it is at 70 or 72. You start getting to the 75-pound bows. I mean, I'm a big dude. I can lift a lot of weight. I can move a lot of weight. Holding back a 75-pound bow for any period of time, dude, that's a test of your manhood, or test of just your hunterhood in general. Sorry for the
Mm-hmm.
men and women out both on here, but I think there's a fine balance between having enough draw weight with a well-built arrow that's
Mm-hmm.
designed for what you're trying to hunt, that carries enough kinetic energy and enough slug to get the job done, and being able to shoot it well. And again, when I moved up to 70, 72, it took me a long time to get comfortable with that, build up my back strength, build up my chest strength, build up my form, because my form changed. And I just, for a lot of hunters, I mean, don't go to the max. Put your bow at like 60, 65. If you can get really, really good competition level at shooting at 60, 65, then go up to 70. But if you're not
Mm-hmm.
doing that, take your draw weight down. There's no machismo behind that to take your draw weight down. You're still lethal. And again, for most people, you're never taking a shot more than 40 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So your energy drop at that distance is not going to be enough for you to notice. And you talked about shooting at 60. 60 is where you really start to see the fine tuning things, like, is your rest truly in line, especially when you throw a broadhead on there. Are you using a 3 fletch versus a 4 fletch? Are you using an offset? Are you using helical? And that's when those factors really start to make a difference in reaching out and touching something. But God, if I could just impart a little bit of knowledge on the hunters that are out there that are struggling, is dial back your bow. There's no concept behind that that's negative. It only makes you a better shooter. And then as you build up that skill set with that lower weight, then start bringing it up. And don't do it like 5 pounds at a time. Do it 1.5, 2 pounds at a time. But you have to build that strength in both your chest, your back, and your arms, because the faster you change the draw weight on your bow, the worse your form gets, because you're having to compensate for weight that you're not prepared to pull. And then you get into that shot situation where you're pulling back for a minute, 2 minutes at 70 pounds. That's a lot of stress on your body. And then you start to overthink the shot, and then you go into your shot panic mode and you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes just keeping a simple change, bringing it down, making it manageable will make you an exponentially better hunter than going after all the high tech crap in the world.
Amen to that. Look, we got some fires and we got some lights, some hearts going on there. So you hit some key resonating points. Like I agree. I used to shoot 70 pounds. Now I shoot both all the my ex Expedition is 70 pounds, but I only shoot it at 60 because
Right.
I bought the 70 pound because if I go to sell it, 70 pounds I think it's got a 15-pound fluctuation. So it allows for people to go up and down for it. And then my two elites are 60-pound limbs, but they'll cap out like 63, 64
Yeah.
pounds. So it's like perfect, and it's like when you're diving into the draw weights, putting in that in the mind really comes into play because you need to drill for those. And I was shooting with Ethan Pace. He does Red Outdoors. They came out with a multi-point harness for your bows. It's not for me. It's there's a lot to it, but they also made a bino harness pack and also a pack two for a backpack. I think it's like 3,600 cubic inch.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what. But listening to him, I was like one of my friends. I don't know if you met him. It's Dr. Matron, Dr. Rob. He's back out here in Wisconsin, and he did his train to hunt, or not train to hunt, but it's School of Hard Knocks.
There you go.
And they started earlier than we did. And we just eventually caught up to them. It was like we got up early. We were the first ones out there, and we found that it's like getting out there early. It's not as hot. Even though granted we're like 10,000 feet up, 12,000 feet up, it still gets quite toasty up there. And listening to him talk about the shot process, he shot multiple bulls, anywhere between a 290 inch to a 370 or something like that. All massive, like all bulls regardless. But he talks about each shot process and he goes through each bull he ever encountered. Like he would run through I think it was like one of his longest holds was like up to like a minute and like almost 2 minutes long, but just at full draw, holding it for 2 minutes, waiting for the shot.
Yeah.
But it's like practicing like that. But if you're doing that at a 70 or 80-pound draw, oh man, you are definitely. But the thing is too, it's like you've got to be mindful because let's say you want to drop your elbow and you want to release that off of there. If you don't do it correctly, there are dire consequences to a malfunction at 70 or 80-pound draw. Even at 50 pounds, 40 pounds, it's still a lot of inertia bringing your shoulder forward. You can mess up your entire life.
Well, yeah, I mean, you aren't thinking correctly when you go to let off that weight on the bow, and just one mistake, you let it go too fast, and you tear your labrum. I mean, again, these bows they're no joke anymore. And that Omni back there was at 72 at one point, and I just didn't need it, so I dialed it back, and I shoot better. I'm more comfortable with it. There's just a level of bravado that I just don't get. And again, everyone's got their own style, so more power to you. But I wish more hunters would take that into heart and really take the time to understand it. Because again, you don't get that many opportunities, and that's what we deal in, right? I deal in the business of creating opportunities or giving you the best opportunity to succeed at that opportunity. And is it really worth going out into the field, being partially prepared, not being able to do it fully when you could have just dialed it back and been dropping dimes everywhere? And you're lethal. A great shot. I'll take a great shot or a high powered shot all day long. And there's some people that's just not their mentality. And again, it's your hunt, not mine, but I know how I do it. I learned that from Adam. It's a very serious thing that we take, and I want to impart that on people. But if there's a drill that I can tell people to do, get up in the morning when it's a little bit crisp and cold, because you're typically not going to take a shot when it's right in the middle of the day. It's going to either be cold in the morning, cold at night. Go and do 20 push-ups. Get your blood rate, your heart rate going up, your blood pumping, and do a one shot. So there was a challenge. It was I'll try and find it, see if they're going to do it again. But the one shot challenge with your broadhead. So it's your first shot of the day. You don't get any practice. Heart rate's up. You're doing something different. Like you're doing up downs. Every day was a little bit of a different exercise, but it tests your capabilities because you're going to be pushing through the woods. You're going to be out of breath, and it's going to be that moment when you least expect it that your shot's going to come available. And can you contain yourself? Can you slow down? Can you hold your form? Can you do it correctly and make the right shot in a time pressure sensitive situation? And it's a fun way to learn. Hell, maybe you and I can get a league going, and I'll throw some apparel in for the winter. But just it's a cool way to keep people consistently getting better, right? And
Hmm.
it's something you can do at home if you've got your own range. It doesn't have to be a long shot. Do it at 20. I mean, you'll learn a lot shooting at 20 when your heart rate's bouncing all over the place because that target's all over. And if you can just your Zen moment of Japanese style archery and just drop one on the center, you'll be all right.
Oh, 100%. And then my buddy Ben Klusman for Sodak Horizons, he went out shooting today, and it was I think it's a high of 23, but
Hmm.
out there it was a 25-mile wind, so it was -11, windy AF, and he did a cold shot at like I think it was like 60 yards or something like that. And it's like talk about testing your grit, but it's like that days like today are the days you go out and practice because
Yep.
when that trophy or when that won't say the trophy buck, but that trophy memory that shows up, whatever however big it is, you want to be prepared for it. So, but I want to say thank you for taking the time on your night to hang out
Always.
with me, man.
Always.
And I'll get this chopped up and released and go from there. And you already texted me what you want to have in this whale, very clean cut. So I want to thank you again for jumping on. I appreciate it. But I'm gonna get on Ty and get you on his podcast because you
Deal.
two will be two peas in a pod drinking whiskey.
I love it. I appreciate you. Thank you again for always being just a great friend, first and foremost, a partner, and supporting us. Again, we don't succeed without people like you and the viewers and all the people that follow us, like, share, follow, and that's what helps build the business. So I really appreciate you, buddy.
Amen.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
God
Merry
bless to
Christmas
you
to
and
you.
family, and we'll catch up soon.
We'll do.
Also,
Talk to you later, man.
click on that 200th episode. I'm excited to
What's
hear it.
that again? Oh, I'll message you once we're offline.
Cool. All right, brother.
All right.
Take
Catch you
care.
later.
Bye.
Bye.